My mom decided to leave our family for her true love from years ago, making my dad the absolute laughingstock of the entire town. Everyone knew her ex-lover was incredibly rich and highly educated. How could my mom ever accept settling down with a simple guy like my dad? He was completely uneducated, just a hard-working farmer with mud on his hands. She spent 30 tough years raising me and taking care of him. And suddenly, my dad is robbed of everything. You know how rumors spread? People whisper that maybe I am actually the adopted son of that other man. Furious, I want to rush over and fight them, but my girlfriend pulls me back. She tells me that even if I pass the exam for a famous university, I will never, ever escape the endless prison of our mountain village. But my uncle in the city has finally settled down. His son can offer me a way better life. Plus, we are already engaged to be married. I stay totally silent, turning and running right to my dad. I do not say anything, just run to my dad. Dad, let us go, I say. Let us check out the big city. Then, half a month later, at my ex-girlfriend's wedding, a terrified shout suddenly rings out. Go put out the fire. Old Key's house is burning down. I immediately sprint out toward the field. Sure enough, I see my dad hunched over, pulling weeds under the blazing hot sun. His face is completely flushed red. I beg him to stop. Take a break, I tell him, grabbing his hands to hold him back. The field is spotless without a single weed left. He slowly stands up. His eyes are slightly red, his voice hoarse and exhausted. He apologizes to me, says my mom was right. He lacks talent, just a useless farmer. If that man is truly my real father, he tells me to go with my mom. He will not hold me back. My heart completely tightens. I cannot bear to let him keep talking. I heard my dad actually saved my mom from the river. He fell for her at first sight. To get her family's approval for marriage, he risked going up the mountain. A wild boar attacked him and broke his ribs. Before even resting, he heard the village gossiping about her. This incredibly gentle man, who never hurt anyone, threw a punch for the very first time in his life. That fight left him with a lifelong illness, carrying that deep pain forever. I still remember lying in my mom's arms as a little kid, watching the pure light in his eyes whenever he talked about her. He said that was his favorite image in the world. Remembering that exact moment, I want to comfort him, but he just shakes his head, looking so heartbroken. He says he wasted decades on me. If I want the best, I should just let go. I stand there totally stunned, feeling an overwhelming pity for my dad. For years, he sacrificed absolutely everything for our little family, even with the whole village constantly claiming I am not his biological son. He never once doubted my mom. He always tried giving us the very best. He never uttered a single complaint, working quietly like a loyal old ox out in the fields. Dad, come with me, I finally tell him. I pull the college admission letter right out of my pocket. It is the paper I just received this very morning. I had not even told them the good news before hearing my mom was running away. My dad stares at the paper for a moment. A faint, bitter smile appears on his face. He says he knew his son would pass for sure. He thinks for a brief moment and continues. Then we should invite Liu Ruyan to come along too. I swallow down the harsh bitterness in my mouth and tell him no. She is getting married to someone else. My dad freezes for a second. Then he slowly nods. That is fine, he says. She cannot stay with you without a proper title. I smile, bitterly mocking myself. She is marrying a completely different guy now. My dad suddenly stands up, his face full of pure disbelief. After all, Liu Ruyan grew up right alongside me. Our feelings were always so incredibly steady. My dad literally watched her grow up. He never expected this painful ending. It is all a mistake. He lowers his head, blaming himself. He says it is because he lacks talent that I have to suffer so much. I swallow down the bitter feeling in my chest. Do not blame us, I tell him. What is lost simply never belonged to us anyway. My dad looks up, staring at me for a long time before nodding, like his mind is made up. Wherever you want to go, I will always support you. A month later, as the school season kicks off, I think about living in a strange new city with him. I spend half a month cleaning up, then bring my dad back to rest. Just as I am about to leave the house, I suddenly see Liu Ruyan standing outside with a man. She looks at me awkwardly and introduces him as her new boyfriend. This is Yi Tenking, the arrogant son of my mom's wealthy ex-lover. Yi Tenking bows his head, his face full of fake regret. He says Liu Ruyan told him how much I took care of her these past years. I know you are unhappy, he says, but we fell in love at first sight. You cannot be just like your father, desperately holding onto someone who will never love you back. His tone sounds polite, but the actual words are completely disgusting. I feel absolute burning rage inside my heart. but I still keep my cool. Check this out. I shoot him a glare. So you are just like your dad, casually crashing into other people's romances? Yi Tenking always prides himself on being a classy city guy. Seeing I am not holding back, he instantly switches to a pathetic, pained expression. He clutches his chest like a victim. Liu Ruyan shields him and snaps at me. Ki Bada, why say such harsh things? Yi Tenking came to visit, bringing very precious milk candies just for you. But I only feel absolute fury, my whole body tensing up. I raise my voice once again. Tell me, who really lacks a conscience here? Seeing my own girlfriend with another man is humiliating enough. And I'm supposed to happily welcome them inside? Liu Ruyan seems to have forgotten. Every time I went to the district, I would buy her those milk candies. She used to call me her sweet brother. But right now, this person standing in front of me just feels like a total stranger. I push her hand away and tell her to take this. Get lost. I don't need your fake charity. Liu Nhyn stomps her foot in pure anger, while Nh just sneers. He says my mother was absolutely right. You all are just a bunch of rude peasants, meant to be looked down on for your entire lives. The moment those words drop, the air just goes completely dead. Total silence. I force down the bitter feeling rising in my chest and just ask, are you done talking? He presses his lips together tight. A flash of disappointment crosses his face. So this is how my own mother sees my dad and me. I mock myself with a bitter smile, turn around, and walk away. I head straight to the village chief. I ask him to write 2 recommendation letters for me, slipping him some homemade smoked meat before I go. I ask the chief to keep these letters a secret. He just pats my shoulder, telling me that whenever I make it big out there in the world, I need to treat my dad well, since he has worked hard his whole life. I nod, but stepping out of the chief's house, I run into a familiar figure. BT, what are you doing here? It is a woman in a tight dress, hair braided to the side, her skin flawlessly white and completely untouched by the sun. You would never guess. She is almost 40 years old. This is my mother, HVNVN. Keeping my cool, I shove the letter deep into my pocket and reply, I just brought some smoked meat over for the chief. She frowns hard at that, scoffing that I can barely take care of my own self. Anyway, she says I have important business with you. Tomorrow, you are coming with me so I can introduce you to your real dad. I feel like lightning struck me. I stare up at her, completely refusing to believe my own ears. How could she say that? She is the exact reason my dad became a total laughingstock today. Everyone in the village is gossiping about how she is abandoning our family for her old flame. And yet here she is, demanding this from me, of all people. Expecting her own son to do this, stabbing another painful knife right into my dad's back. Kim Kyuk will always be my father, no matter what happens. I do not have another dad. She starts losing her patience, asking why a mother would ever harm her son. She claims she is only thinking about my future. Your dad works at a food factory. She says if you acknowledge your real ancestors, you will get a stable job. I tell her I do not need it. HVN Ven's face darkens. She coldly asks if I want to be a peasant my whole life, like Kim Kyuk, achieving absolutely nothing. I tell her so what if I like it that way? Right then, a familiar voice rings out. Liu Nhyn steps out from behind a tree, her face full of absolute resentment. So everything they said was actually true. You really are the son of a wealthy family. You clearly had a chance to be with me, BT. We have had a connection for so many years now. Are you really that heartless? Her voice trembles, making it look like I am the villain hurting them. But this time I'm absolutely not giving in. I refuse to meet their ridiculous demands. I look straight at HVNVN and ask her the $1 million question. Is DHTC Zui and really my biological father? Ignoring, her face turning completely pale, I just turn around and walk away. Departure day is coming up fast, so I take the chance to head out and prepare. I go buy train tickets to the city. Since there are barely any trains, I have to wait in line forever. By the time I get back, it is mid-afternoon. From a distance, I spot a huge crowd standing around the low wall of my house. I vaguely hear a woman's voice shouting from inside the yard. Listen to this madness. She yells, you know BT isn't your son, so why hold on to him? All these years you forced me to stay by your side. Now, you want my son to be a peasant forever too? If you truly cared about him, you would let him come back to the city with me. My dad's lips tremble. He wants to defend himself, but he can only repeat that it is not true. He says BT called him his real dad. That is just him being filial, she screams. You are just using his loyalty to ruin his entire life. My dad, always as sturdy as a pillar, suddenly breaks. His back completely slumps down. I rush in to hold him up, then lock eyes with HVNVN. For the very first time in my entire life, I feel nothing but pure hatred. She is absolutely vicious, publicly announcing to the whole world that my dad is just a fool, raising another man's kid. Now, she is forcing him to face a broken family and heavy moral judgment all at once. Looking at her eyes today, I realize something pretty messed up. She isn't even completely sure I'm DHTC Zui and's biological son. She only ran over here to cause a massive scene and secure her own narrative, spreading the rumor first to claim I belong to DHTC Zui N. But I don't care. Kin Kyuk will permanently be my one and only dad. I look straight at HVNVN, pronouncing every single word clearly. Kin Kyuk is my father. Her face turns beet red, her hand shaking as she points right at me. Fine, don't regret this later. Follow him, and you will only see poverty for the rest of your life. After spitting that out, she angrily turns her back and storms off. My dad slumps onto the dirt, looking devastated. He whispers that maybe my mom is right. He shouldn't be so selfish. I shake my head. Mom doesn't want me anymore. So do you want to throw me away too? I look at him, tears welling up in my eyes. I am fully grown now. It's my turn to work hard and give you a good life. I tell him to lock the doors tight. Before dawn, my best friend Chu Tiu, Kwang, and I head up into the mountains. We secretly bring the hunted animals down to the county black market, selling them off for ration tickets and cash. I divide it all up, giving Tiu Kwang half the tickets and money. He pushes it right back to me, saying, when you strike it rich later, just take me with you. You need the money right now, so stop being polite. I pat his shoulder, accepting his kindness. After setting a time to meet, I head out to buy dry rations. It is a massive 3-day train ride. Because of an old injury, my dad's health really isn't great, and I absolutely refuse to let him suffer on this long trip. But before I can even finish buying the food, a frantic voice cuts me off. BT, hurry up and follow me. Your dad took a really bad fall. He is bleeding everywhere and just got rushed to the county hospital. My heart completely drops. Without a single second to think, I blindly sprint after the guy. I ask him what happened and if it is serious. But get this, the guy's eyes keep darting away. I feel a heavy spike of suspicion right then. The situation right in front of me leaves absolutely zero room for hesitation. I really can't take any risks. Even if it's a trap, I refuse to gamble with my dad's life. We reach the hospital incredibly fast. That guy just points in a direction and completely vanishes into thin air. I immediately rush over, only to find Liu Nhyn standing right there. The moment she spots me, a sudden spark flashes in her eyes. You finally made it. Hurry up and help your dad out. His condition is incredibly critical right now. I just let out this totally mocking laugh inside, feeling a huge wave of pure anger rising up. So where exactly is his actual biological son? They completely tricked me into coming all the way here, yet his real son is nowhere to be found. Liu Nhyn bites her lower lip hard, suddenly dropping to her knees right in front of me. BT, I know we both totally wronged you, but your dad is severely injured. Regular treatments are not working. You are literally the only one who can step up and save him. I really do not care about her excuses. I turn to leave, but right then, a heavy bat smashes directly into my back. A wave of intense dizziness suddenly hits me hard. I struggle to turn my head, catching sight of Yang Thenh gripping the bat, his hands completely shaking. HVNVN stands right beside him, her face completely blank. Panic instantly sets in. Only one single thought flashes through my racing mind. If I actually pass out right now, it is game over. That train ticket is already booked for tomorrow night. I have to make it out before then. When I finally open my eyes, it is already the next morning. Tiu Kwang sits right beside the bed. Seeing me awake, he lets out a huge sigh of relief. The doctor said your vitals dropped way too low. We genuinely thought you wouldn't wake up. I almost fall into a total panic. I force myself to sit up, leaning closely into his ear. Tiu Kwang, I really need you to help me out with something. Later that exact afternoon, Tiu Kwang secretly sneaks my dad out to the district city. We grab our bags and barely manage to catch the night train. The grand wedding between Liu Nhyn and Yang Thenh kicks off exactly as they planned. But right at the absolute peak of the celebration, sudden loud scream echoes out. Lokay's old family house is completely up in flames. Put it out. Everyone frantically rushes outside in a panic. Liu Nhyn just stares at the burning building, turning into pure ash, her face going totally pale. Is KBT still stuck at the hospital? No, BT got discharged earlier this afternoon and headed straight home. As for my dad and me, we honestly have zero time to care about their drama. We settle onto the train, and this immense feeling of pure excitement about finally leaving our hometown completely washes away any leftover worries. We roll right past massive mountains, rolling green hills, and wide lakes, steadily making our way toward a totally new, bustling grand city. You know that crazy feeling of stepping into a totally different world? That is this place. People dress incredibly sharp, and bright neon lights flash everywhere, making me genuinely feel like I just stepped into an entirely different universe. And those bicycles that are incredibly rare back in our small district city, they are completely normal everywhere you look. Here, my dad keeps glancing around constantly, his eyes wide open, taking in absolutely every single detail without ever getting tired of it. It is like he honestly cannot believe he actually made it to such a wonderfully distant place. When we finally sit down on the edge of the bed in our hotel room, Dad just keeps looking around, his face still full of absolute awe. I never expected to travel this far from home, he says, or to actually sleep on such a ridiculously soft bed like this. I can tell he is deeply moved, and honestly, I feel that exact same warmth. As a man who grew up in a deeply impoverished village, my dad never even dared to dream about traveling this far, and frankly, I never once imagined that I would actually have the amazing chance to ride a train to this massive city for university, bringing my dad right along with me to give him a much better life. I just smile quietly to myself deep in my heart, constantly picturing our bright future. This overwhelmingly powerful wave of pure emotion hits me so hard that the very next morning, I can barely even manage to drag myself out of bed. I head to campus for enrollment, grab my new textbooks, then immediately rush back to the hotel so we can go apartment hunting. We finally manage to rent a cozy little room near campus for 15 yuan. As I hand over the cash for rent, my dad looks over at me, his eyes completely filled with worry. I quickly step in to reassure him. As long as you stay healthy, I can focus on studying in peace. Besides, our previous savings are more than enough to cover rent for 2 whole years. We will figure the rest out later. He doesn't say another word, just quietly nodding his head. Once we fully settle into our new life, my incredibly packed freshman year kicks off. Practically every single day, I am sprinting back and forth between the campus library and our apartment, sometimes running experiments late into the night. Whenever my dad opens the door to let me in, he has these dark circles from barely sleeping. I genuinely feel so heartbroken for him, and I honestly just want him to finally enjoy a life of his own. But he really does not seem to grasp that concept yet. He sacrificed over half his entire life just taking care of me, so he literally has no idea how to live for himself anymore. I gently wrap my arm around his shoulder, asking him completely seriously, "Dad, do you want to go to school too?" He immediately reacts, waving it off. "School? Are you kidding? At my age, what is left to learn?" I patiently break it down for him. It is definitely not about age. Plenty of older adults study on campus. I'm simply asking if you actually want to. That is all. No need to worry about money. The government offers grants. You know how stubborn parents can be, right? I just keep gently nudging him, and finally, my dad drops the polite refusals and slowly, but absolutely surely agrees to give it a shot. Going from constantly claiming he could never pull this off, to eventually just smiling brightly and saying that studying is actually amazing. He genuinely falls in love with learning. Every single time I catch that warm smile on his face, my heart feels so incredibly warm. My entire freshman year flies by in an absolute flash. Both my dad and I fully adapt to the fast-paced city life. Honestly, he even builds up his own little friend group. Outside of looking out for me, he occasionally heads out to hang with guys his own age. As for me, I end up making so many friends who share my exact interests. Beyond just grinding through our studies and lab experiments, we chat about pretty much everything under the sun. One specific name always seems to pop up: the Ms. The ridiculously gorgeous girl from the foreign language department. Everyone is constantly raving about how incredibly beautiful she is. No matter how incredibly talented she was, his mind suddenly flashed back to that exact day she quietly sneaked in through the side door. She ran inside, completely full of life and energy, totally different from how everyone else had described her during that really tough school year. He signed up for English classes just to keep up with the newest physics breakthroughs. And his study partner for this? None other than the Ms. They actually took turns testing each other. One time, surrounded by study notes stacked as high as a mountain, he stretched his arms, Suddenly, her bright voice chimed right in his ear. "You are doing so incredibly well, really just impressive." He could not help but rub his hands. Her voice was just sweet and clear. English was basically a hard requirement for them, just like how physics majors absolutely need to master math. He nodded, totally getting her point. At first, he was just too shy to even speak English, but now he could handle a few sentences. Still a bit awkward, sure, but way more confident. He genuinely thanked them US for helping him out this entire past year. He felt he could push even further in his studies, and he would absolutely never forget her support. "Would you mind if I treated you to a meal?" he asked, even with his heart hammering inside his chest. He carefully put the offer out there. "Sure thing." He then brought them US over to his family's restaurant. His dad opened it just 6 months ago. When his dad first mentioned opening a food place, he was pretty surprised. The location was absolutely fantastic, always perfectly positioned to adapt quickly to any new changes. But his dad, a guy who had worked with land his entire life, somehow sharply spotted this exact opportunity. "You gotta respect that, right?" His dad's business instincts were absolutely top tier. Just thinking about having that kind of solid family support right there to back him, he did not hesitate at all, dropping all his saved up money to invest. Over the past half year, the restaurant operated incredibly well thanks to amazing food and fair prices. They quickly grabbed a huge chunk of the market, up until he came back from school. His dad personally left the kitchen to greet him. Seeing the girl beside him, his dad's eyes lit up with absolute surprise. He felt pretty helpless, totally knowing what his dad was thinking. Ever since the Liu Nhyn mess, his dad worried he'd fall into bad relationships. He went ahead and introduced them. Them US smiled, looking absolutely charming. "Hello sir, I have heard for a long time that the food at your family's place is absolutely delicious. I am so lucky to try it today." His dad was praised so much he looked purely thrilled. "I heard BT mention a really smart, pretty girl hanging around him, so it definitely has to be you. Anyway, you two go on and chat. Let me hit the kitchen and cook up something amazing for you both." As his dad left, them US's bright laugh rang out, along with her gentle breath lightly brushing his ear. His chest suddenly felt intensely warm, his face turning completely red. She actually called him smart. He just stared back at her with a pretty doubtful look. When his dad set all their favorite dishes out, he stared at that wildly packed table. He could not help but think this was way more food than even his normal holiday dinners back home. Honestly, them US did not just have a pretty voice. She completely knew how to make folks feel comfortable. She kept laughing non-stop, getting so incredibly happy she almost could not even breathe. Seeing her this joyful felt so wonderfully childish. That image of them US laughing hysterically right inside his family's restaurant quickly became one of his absolute favorite memories from his entire second year of college. Then, over the next 2 years, well, probably because of how popular and pretty she was, they slowly started talking less, but occasionally, she still checked up on his English skills, just to make sure he was not falling behind at all. He was always super grateful for her enthusiastic help. He invited her out to eat. Again, seeing the two of them like that, his dad just got way more worried. "What on earth are you thinking? She is such an outstanding girl. If she ends up falling for someone else down the road, are you gonna regret it?" He just nodded, knowing it completely. He really could not help but admit his dad was totally right. His dad had graduated and built a family early. Meanwhile, he lacked the means to actually guarantee happiness for her yet. Them US came from a highly educated family, with both her parents being incredibly talented diplomats. Honestly, if nothing major changed at all, she was going to be an absolutely brilliant diplomat in the future. She was raised in such a prestigious, wealthy household. He absolutely refused to drag her down and make her suffer. His dad seemingly understood, just giving his shoulder a heavy pat in complete silence. He could only throw himself harder into his studies, desperately trying to close that massive gap to success. He just prayed the heavens would show him a little more mercy. By senior year, thanks to his top-tier grades, he kept his scholarship and started doing direct research with his professor. Writing his massive thesis left him with zero free time, and he slowly lost touch with them US entirely. That was until one random day when he heard the news that why throw it all away, right? She dropped her entire diplomatic path for a totally different career. Nobody could understand this wild decision, himself included. Fully panicking, he sprinted all the way over to see her. Panting heavily, he stood right in front of her, while she just calmly smiled. No need to even ask, I will tell you. It is simply because I like it. Her eyes look so deep and passionate. This was not just about career paths. This was about everything. She was actively choosing. He clenched his fists tight, desperately trying to keep his wild emotions completely in check. But finally, he just could not hold it in anymore, hesitantly asking, what about your parents? Did they not demand you stick to the exact path already laid out for you? Her eyes suddenly brightened up. They actually respect every single choice I make. He grabbed his chest, totally feeling his own heart. My heart feels like it's literally about to burst, but I managed to keep it hidden. So, could I really be your choice? No, she smiles. I am always her one and only choice. So we take our very first photo together, grabbing the chance during the graduation shoot to capture that massive moment. College ends, and and I officially become a couple. I honestly thought we'd have all this time together, but for the next 3 years, work and studies keep us both crazy busy. My dad gives up on holding a grandchild anytime soon. Instead, he works even harder, hustling to build a solid future for us kids. His restaurant business absolutely blows up during these years. He opens branch after branch, and he quickly turns into a total powerhouse boss. A real tycoon in the food industry, constantly chased by the media. But he doesn't stop there. Every now and then, and I send him great books and really interesting courses. He's always studying so hard. He constantly tells us kids, just rest if you're tired, Dad can still make plenty of money. Whenever we hear this, and I just smile and look at each other. It feels so incredibly warm inside. Finally, after getting my master's degree, I propose to and we throw this massive wedding with both our families watching. Not long after tying the knot, I get a letter from my hometown. My mom is heavily sick. Critical condition. The handwriting isn't familiar. Maybe sent by then H. Dad probably made a name for himself, and they noticed. I plan to head back and visit alone. Is newly pregnant and not feeling great. Plus, I really don't want my dad having to make a special trip out there, but he instantly rejects my whole idea. Finally, he just waves his hand and calls the guards and buys 4 plane tickets. What reason do you have to go alone? We can't let others get the upper hand. Soon, our flight lands on that familiar soil, smelling the scent I used to miss so much. I can't help feeling pretty emotional. Leaving back then, I never even imagined this exact scene of me returning. Even though we hide it well, there's no denying that Dad and I were deeply hurt in this place. I glance over at him. He's dead silent too. I don't bother him, just shift my sitting posture. So, can sleep a bit more comfortably. Since getting pregnant, she's always exhausted. If she hadn't been so stubborn, I definitely wouldn't have let her travel rough like this. Right after we get off the plane, Dad rents a car. We all climb in, and the wheels roll through those small forest dirt roads, passing the open fields until we finally hit our destination. The second our ride enters, but watch what happens next. The car rolls into the village and grabs every single eye. People gather around, way louder than the holidays. Is this a real car? The kind you only see on television? Whose family is this? Way too luxurious. Must be someone super important. I help step down. The villagers crowd around us for a good long while. Then someone asks with this heavy suspicion, are you Kim Kyuk's son, BT? You guys really didn't I? I nod my head. Probably because my dad and the bodyguards are standing right there. They're super curious, but don't quite dare to make a move or ask more. They just exchange glances and whisper. Back in the day, BT definitely picked the right guy. Pick someone with real potential to be a dad. Who knew the guy covered in mud back then could end up on the news? If I knew, I'd go out there to find an easier life too. Admitting someone else is good is pretty hard. Why couldn't I succeed, and instead just ended up useless? In the end, I even ruined my whole fortune. Everyone around nods in total agreement. We definitely looked down on Kim Kyuk back then. Now look, the man actually made it big. I call the 2 nearest villagers over, planning to ask them where HVNVN lives these days. Suddenly, I hear a girl's voice packed with pure surprise. BT. I frown. I really didn't expect the very first person I meet here to be the one I want to see least. Liu Nhyn walks fast toward me, staring at me for a long time. Only when she's absolutely sure it's me do her eyes turn red. I knew you were okay. She rushes straight toward me, and I instantly throw my hand up to block her, instinctively pulling them right behind my back. That's when Liu Nhyn finally seems to notice. Thum US standing there, her eyes flash with bitter grievance. And she asks in this angry tone, who is she? Don't tell me all these years you two have been together? Is it even fair for you to do this? I just find it hilarious. We broke up ages ago, zero connection left. What face does she even have to bring up the past? If I remember right, I almost ended up attending your wedding. Liu Nhyn gasps, denying it right away. BT. I was young back then, didn't understand how things worked, so why NH tricked me. When I heard you died in that fire, I thought I'd never get another chance to see you in this life. I cried for half a year, practically went blind from crying. Only then did I realize how important you really are to me. She stops crying, her face showing total agony. Looking back at the years of feelings we had, can you just give me one more chance? All these years, I have always missed you. You're going to love this reaction. Thum US literally can't stomach it, vomiting violently. I hurriedly pat her back, panicking. This is the first time Thum US ever reacted this strongly. She calms down and says, it's okay, I just felt a bit disgusted. Liu Nhyn's face goes completely dark at this, opening her mouth to say more. Dad shoots a glance. Instantly, a guard covers Liu Nhyn's mouth. Heading back home, they already figured some completely crazy situations might pop up, so they made sure to keep the security guards fully ready to go. I really have to admire my dad's sharp instincts here. Thum US is pregnant, so dealing with people like this means we need to be extra careful. We absolutely cannot keep acting so timid around them. It is time to make it crystal clear that we are not easy targets at all. Let me go right now. BT, don't you want to find my mother? I just hold up my hand to stop her, telling her I will lead the way. Liu Nhyn finally quiets down after that. She takes the lead, and we follow right behind her until we reach the absolute furthest corner of the entire village. I spot an old woman sitting by a door, shelling peanuts. Hearing our footsteps, she looks up, and her eyes immediately fill with wild joy. Kinkyuk, you finally came back to me. HVNVN quickly scrambles to her feet, nervously wiping her hands on her shirt before hurriedly smoothing down her messy hair. Her face completely loses that cold, mocking look from the past. Instead, she is actually putting on this shy, gentle expression for us, except it is hard to tell what she has been through all these years. Her face looks so aged now. Honestly, if she and my dad stood next to each other right now, they would look more like siblings than an old married couple. My dad and I just share a quick glance, already knowing exactly how this is going to play out. We had already guessed. HVNVN was faking an illness just to trick us into coming back here, and seeing her like this, we are not surprised by the outcome at all. Kinkyuk, I honestly thought I would never get to see you and our boy ever again. When I heard you both were lost in that terrible fire, my whole world just collapsed. She grabs my dad's hand tightly, staring at him with eyes full of deep affection, acting like they were totally inseparable soulmates. I cannot help but think to myself, there is no way my dad does not notice her sudden change in attitude. A successful, elegant guy like my dad might have a really charming presence now, but deep down he is still the same man she completely threw away and abandoned. Plus, she is already remarried to someone else. Bigamy is completely illegal, and what she is doing right now breaks the law. Hearing this, HVNVN quickly starts making excuses. No, you are wonderful. I was just too blind to appreciate you back then. I already left DHTC Zuyen for good. Can you please come back to me? We are a family of 3, and that is our only true home. Hearing this, my dad just looks at her with absolute mockery. He cannot hide his total disgust as he replies, weren't you guys just trying to steal my BT away from me earlier? What kind of twisted family is this anyway? No, she cries out. I was just out of my mind back then. I only wanted BT back. Enough. My dad completely loses his patience and cuts HVNVN off. Since you are doing just fine, we are leaving. If you ever dare to use this cheap trick to lure us back here again, we'll make sure you regret it. Suddenly, HVNVN remembers I am standing right there, and she looks at me, begging, BT, I am your own mother. You cannot be this heartless and just leave me behind. I shoot her a freezing cold glare right back. Ever since you knocked me out and wrote that letter to DHTC Zuyen, you stopped being my mother. My dad, standing next to me, is completely stunned. I realize a second too late that I just let my secret slip out. Furious, he delivers a heavy kick straight at HVNVN, striking her down right there. You do not deserve to be his mother. Do not ever contact him again, even if it is your last breath. With that, we walk away. The Ms. looks so incredibly sad after seeing all of this. I know she is just worried about me, so I quickly try to distract her. Pregnant women are always so vulnerable to stress. I gently pull her over to sit down under a massive tree. This used to be my absolute favorite spot as a kid. While my dad worked out in the rice fields, I would bring my school books right here to study. A gentle breeze sweeps by, completely washing away all the heavy worries in our hearts. But brace yourselves, because this quiet peace shatters in an instant. YNH suddenly marches straight toward us, dragging a whole squad of dangerous thugs right behind him. I immediately push US behind me to keep her safe. My dad and our bodyguards quickly step up on both sides, forming a solid shield around her. But looking at their sheer numbers, we are totally outmatched here. No matter how highly trained our guards are, they cannot guarantee our safety against a mob this big. I know my only option right now is to stall for time. YNH, what the hell are you doing? He just furiously points his finger at me, screaming out loud. Why didn't you just stay gone forever? Why come back? You only showed your face around here to ruin our lives even more, didn't you? I stare right back, completely ignoring his pathetic little provocation. You people are the ones who actually stole my own mother and my girlfriend from me. I have not even settled that massive score with you yet, and you have the nerve to blame me? YN's face twists into a pretty ugly scowl. If it was not for your crazy mother, my dad would never have suffered a stroke and ended up bedridden. And without you, NHYN and I could be perfectly happy together. While he keeps rambling on with all these bitter complaints, the whole truth finally clicks in my head. After HVNVN actually married DHTC Zuyen, she was initially pretty satisfied with all the nice material things he could provide for her. But the second she saw other people making way more money, her greed totally took over. She actually pushed DHTC Zuyen into quitting his job and gambling absolutely every single piece of their family assets away. In the end, they lost it all. The shock was too much, leaving DHTC Zuyen completely bedridden from a massive stroke. And as for Liu NHYN, after I faked my own tragic end, she was crushed by grief, finally realizing I was the only guy she truly loved. So naturally, right after getting married, she and YNH started fighting viciously all the time. The neighbors just watched and laughed at their mess, blaming me for everything going wrong. YNH became furiously determined to make me pay. You feel that tension rising? The thugs start closing in on us. I carefully step back, terrified they might hurt them US. Right then, the village chief comes sprinting over, shouting loudly, "Stop right there. You really want to cause more chaos and end up in a jail cell." YNH violently grits his teeth before spitting out, "Fine, you can leave. But my dad said you have to pay 100,000 just to buy back our family TIs. Besides, you belong to my family too." My dad actually grits his teeth, ready to protest. But I quickly stop him right there. 100,000 definitely requires a solid witness. What if you guys just refuse to pay? The village chief speaks up, and YNH acts like he already sees the money, immediately waving his hand to signal agreement. Fine, I agree. After those guys finally leave, I lightly punch the chief on the shoulder. Huge congratulations to the retired chief. He just laughs. Thanks, you guys honestly arrived at the perfect time. Then he lightly punches my shoulder back. It is nothing, you are the most talented folks in our village. How could I ever let anyone bully you? Exactly. So later on, I actually ask him a small favor. After that, the chief gathers everyone around. The whole crowd is buzzing, super curious about what just happened. I confidently step right out into the middle of the crowd, holding up a medical report. Now watch this drop. 8 years ago, when I left, everyone here believed I wasn't the real son of L. Kin Kyuk. So before coming back, I went straight to the hospital, did the most advanced DNA test available, and successfully confirmed the absolute truth. That L. Kin Kyuk and I are truly blood relatives. Of course, even if we somehow shared zero biological connection, I would still only ever proudly acknowledge him as my real dad. I did this test partly to shut down those people holding on to totally hopeless ideas, and partly just to firmly prove that I am this outstanding simply because I completely inherited L. Kin Kyuk's elite genes, totally unrelated to anyone else at all. Looking at the absolutely shattered and pale faces of certain folks here, fully admit, I'm feeling pretty thrilled right now. Outside the crowd, my dad gets red eyes, totally unable to stop. wiping his tears away, and the gentle woman standing right beside my dad is just staring at me, not even blinking. I quickly run over to them, the two people I love most in this entire world. Returning to the NHHK, I quickly leave that annoying crowd far behind. 6 short months later, the US gives birth to an incredibly sweet baby girl. During my free time, I receive a surprising letter sent from the village by Tiu Kwang. He talks about how they used the funds my dad generously donated for the village construction, and he also gives updates on everybody's current situation. Apparently, Liu Nhynh sneakily ran away from home, but got caught and dragged back by Yang Thenh. Then they got into a massive fight, and unfortunately, they accidentally started a huge fire, even though they had a real chance to escape the burning house. When we finally found them, the two were hopelessly tangled together, neither one willing to back down at all. DHTC Zui and couldn't move or escape the disaster. Only HVNVN was lucky enough to get out, but now she is entirely homeless, living a seriously difficult life. Finishing the letter, I send money and a reply back, asking Tiu Kwang to help cover the living expenses for my biological mother. After that, I honestly stopped caring about them completely. Life is a long journey, and the people standing right beside me are what actually matters most. As for the rest, just passing clouds in our story.